Back at Viking Field, we're getting set for the second half of play. Upper Merion trailing Plymouth Whitemarsh in this Thanksgiving game by a score of 28-7. And Steve, an impressive first half for Plymouth Whitemarsh.
Definitely, they hold the 28-7 advantage. They've been very conservative. They run the ball a lot. 3 touchdowns for senior fullback John Rubin, who has gone over 100 yards for the game and over 1,000 yards for the season. Also, Nate Stovall had a touchdown, again rushing. And basically, that's what PW has to do. They have to keep being conservative, run the ball. Maybe some junior varsity players could see some action as well.
Now, how will Upper Merion try to counter PW, Chris?
Thrown a touchdown and the interception at the end of the half. The big thing is that the rushing attack, 10 carries, 6 yards for Hilliard and Wright. And they're not going to get it done running the ball unless they break down the defense.
Of course, Coach Shine kind of abandoned the running game, realizing that he'd have to throw the ball to get back into it. He did get it back to 21-7, but then the big play that has still hurt Upper Merion was when they had Plymouth Whitemarsh stopped. They then roughed the kicker. 15-yard penalty gave PW the ball back, and then they went down the field and got their 3-touchdown advantage back. Upper Merion will take over to start off the second half. Tarana Smith takes the kickoff across the 20-yard line to about the 25-yard line. That's where they'll have the ball first down and 10. Rick McCabe, number 8's the quarterback, and number 23, Dean Wright, number 34, Jim Hilliard are the backs, along with number 37, Eric Probandith.
It'll be interesting to see what Upper Merion does to start the second half. They threw that 40-yard pass to Jim Hilliard first play first time they touched the ball. See what McCabe does here.
Vikings will set up shop at the 27. Mix up on the first play. They never got the exchange cleanly. That'll hurt Upper Merion. They will go back 5 yards. Legal procedure called against the Vikings.
Ball on the 22-yard line.
First down and 15 now for Upper Merion. We're just 30 seconds into this second half of play. You're watching this game on the Viking channel. Steve Prince Valley, along with Chris Manzer, and I'm Art Saxon. Anthony Scottees comes in motion and then sets his position. McCabe coming out throwing. Dean Wright on a screen. Escapes a tackler and is up near a first down. So Upper Merion, a good opening play.
That little screen pass from McCabe to Hilliard turned into a pretty big play as they're very close to the first down, as you mentioned.
Upper Merion comes up about 1.5 yards short. They'll have a second down.
Short of a first down. Ball on the 36-yard line.
McCabe brings the play into the Upper Merion offense. There's the Plymouth Whitemarsh defense. They are using a 5-man line here to open the half. McCabe going deep this time. Hilliard was the intended target, but it's thrown short and intercepted by Carl Haley.
Carl Haley of PW.
A little underthrown that time by McCabe.
A lot underthrown by McCabe, about 5 yards. Good catch by Haley. Picked that one off, but they had the right idea. He had Hilliard open. He just underthrew him.
And another note of interest, that is Carl Haley's second interception of the game. He had one right before halftime, and they open this second half of play, and Carl Haley gets his second interception of the game.
It'll be up to Coach Stone's defense to stop things here. There goes Rubin, dragging the Upper Merion pile with him.
It only took about 6 guys to tackle him.
Taken out by Mark Hahn and Charles Dillline.
Very durable back, 5'9", 195. Good size for a high school running back. He's awfully tough to bring down, as we mentioned. PW has a lot of beef in that backfield. Colonials need a yard. Calvin
they got it.
Hagwood, and he's caught for a loss.
Mark
Smith, Ruckman,
Green,
and Holland also in on that tackle.
Mark Holland, Chris McCloy, Charles Dillard.
Well, apparently the forward progress was enough for first down. It looked like he was actually...
I don't think he got it. It didn't look like he got it.
Officials don't agree, though. It'll be first down and 10 at the 43. Virgin with a left roll. Fires. It's caught. Caroluzzi on the receiving end of that. He has a first down into Viking territory at the 43.
Luzio is the receiver, taken down by Dion Smith.
Now Plymouth Whitemarsh opening the second half just as they ended the first, continuing to move the ball. 9:02 left in the third quarter.
This is one of the strengths of the PW team. They can pass the ball effectively, and also they have a great ground attack, so they have a good balance.
Hagwood in motion. Handoff goes to Haley. He's down inside the 40 towards the 35.
Taken down by
Ball will be spotted at the 37. Upper Merion has not found the answer to the running game so far. They haven't really stopped Plymouth Whitemarsh. They had him 3 downs and apparently out before the roughing the kicker penalty. Other than that, Plymouth Whitemarsh just keeps stringing the first downs together and gets into the end zone.
5 or 4.
Rubin breaks through a tackler. It's going to be a foot race. DeFeo cuts him off finally. Otherwise, that would have been 6 more.
John Rubin gains big yardage on that play, finds a hole in the defensive line of the Upper Merion Vikings and gets a big gain. Puts his team in excellent field position once again.
First down and goal for Plymouth Whitemarsh. They're already leading at 28-7. Rubin continues to tack on the yards. He's going up towards the 150 mark now. Haley trying the left side. Has the corner and into the end zone. Touchdown. 8-yard run for Haley.
That's Carl Haley's 5th touchdown of the year.
It is now Plymouth Whitemarsh 34, Upper Merion 7, with 8 minutes 19 seconds remaining in the third quarter.
11.
Kriebel on to try to tack on point number 35.
Number 15, Todd Hunsinger will hold.
Kriebel perfect again, and that'll make the score 35-7. Not the way Upper Merion wanted to start the second half.
No, they got to find some way to stop Plymouth Whitemarsh, and they haven't figured it out so far, but they better figure it out soon if they want to get into this game. They can't just let Plymouth Whitemarsh take the ball all the way down the field and score every time they get it.
Again, 5 touchdowns for the Colonials today, all of them rushing touchdowns.
In 5 possessions, really, because they never lost possession of the ball after that roughing the kicker penalty.
Every drive of the Colonials has been successful today, and that's very good.
Samworth.
The Upper Merion triumvirate of Smith, Wright, and Hilliard are back to return the kickoff. Kick is pooched up there in the air, and Upper Merion better touch it, otherwise it's a live ball. Ball apparently goes out of bounds. So Upper Merion will take over. They have fairly good field position. I'm not sure what the intent was on that kick.
I'm not sure either. He certainly got a lot of hang time on that, but not much distance.
Must have just caught it with the wrong part of the foot. He went straight up in the air.
Greg Friebel throughout the season has been very consistent in his kicking, in point after tries and also in place kicking. So that's rare to see him kick something like that.
Well, he hit that one about 30 yards.
Viking football, first down and 10 from their own 35. McCabe. Scott T is on the receiving end of it. Is wrestled down near the 40.
49, Anthony Scotese taken down
Calvin
by
Hagwood making the tackle
Hagwood.
for the Colonials.
Mike-
Pick up of 5. It'll be 2nd and 5.
Mike Bonds, number 50, tried to grab out and deflect the ball, but he was unsuccessful as the pass was complete.
We probably won't see too many more running plays by Upper Merion. It looks like McCabe is going to try to fire away on every play here. They've got to try to at least get some respectability points on the board at this point, trailing at 35-7. There's the pitch, which doesn't fool anybody. Whistles blow the play dead. Hilliard loses about 5.
Chris March, number 44, the linebacker, saw Hilliard all the way and just stopped him for a loss.
3rd down and about 9 now for the Vikings. Claude Phipps bringing the play into Rick McCabe. McCabe will be back next year. He's only a junior, but Upper Merion unfortunately will lose their starting backfield. That was supposed to be the strength of the team this year, according to Coach Shine during the preseason practices, but it really hasn't worked out that way. That pass almost picked off. Hagwood was draped all over the intended receiver, Claude Phipps.
Claude Phipps was the
Good coverage by Hagwood on that play.
That'll bring up a 4th down and an Upper Merion punt. Mike Brady will be back to kick it away. Stovall will be standing back on his own 35 to receive this punt.
So again, Upper Merion cannot capitalize on their relatively good field position.
Brady gets a pretty good kickoff. Stovall has to let it bounce, and now he probably won't pick it up. It almost touched him, though. That would have been dangerous because Upper Merion was right there. Jim Hilliard downed it.
Downs the ball on the 11-yard line.
Well, Plymouth Whitemarsh at least will start deeper in their own territory, this time at their own 15-yard line.
Yes, indeed, that was an excellent punt by Mike Brady on the play.
We have 6.5 minutes remaining in the 3rd quarter. Upper Merion on the short end of the score, 35-7. This is their first Thanksgiving game against Plymouth Whitemarsh. In the past, they've played Norristown, so this is the beginning of a new tradition for Upper Merion. Beautiful reception by Carl Haley. Ditterline was right there hoping for the interception, but Haley came down with it, went right off his fingertips, and then he reeled it in for a big 1st down. But there is a penalty, and it's going to come back. A legal procedure called against Plymouth Whitemarsh.
Well, Chuck Ditterline had the coverage on that, and I don't know what he was looking at, but Haley just stopped, put on the brakes, and caught the ball. Ditterline could have easily intercepted that.
You don't want to go there. I'm wondering why.
That'll move the Colonials back to their own 11 for this play. It'll be 1st down and 15 now.
It's a shame that that play was called back because that was an excellent catch by number 9, Carl Haley.
Virgin gives to Rubin. He spins forward for about 5. That'll get him back to the original line of scrimmage, making it 2nd and 10.
John Yorgi
made the stop for the Upper Merion Vikings, along with Joe Fazio.
2nd down. Ball at about the 15-yard line. 2nd and about 11.
The one man we haven't seen for PW so far today has been Sean Mitchell. He hasn't made any receptions yet. He's been a big play guy for him.
Indeed, he has. But I believe Coach Iacovetti is going to stick with the ground attack because it's been very effective in the first half of play.
Rubin moves it across to the 21-yard line. That'll bring up 3rd down and approximately 4 to go for the Plymouth Whitemarsh Colonials.
And I would guess that John Rubin has gone over 150 yards at this point.
Yeah, just about. He's pretty close. He's got 49 so far in this half. Add that to the 107 he had in the first half. He's up over 150.
Had a long run on the last series of plays to set up Haley with a touchdown run that gave Plymouth Whitemarsh a 35-7 advantage.
That was his long run. That went for about 30 yards.
Here comes Rubin to the outside. He is going to be short. And apparently, again, Upper Merion has stopped Plymouth Whitemarsh if they can just not rough the kicker this time.
John Rubin. So
this may be the first true punting situation for Plymouth Whitemarsh today. Haley will be back to kick it from his own 7. Mike Brady to receive. Haley gets it away under no pressure at all. It hits a Plymouth Whitemarsh Colonial and is downed. And a trio of flags come out on that play. I think they're going to call it, well, let's say it's going to be interference with an opportunity to make the punt reception.
The opportunity to make a fair catch.
The ball hit Todd Hunsiger in the shoulder pads, and there were 3 Colonials right around Brady. He had no chance to make the reception. Have to give him a 5-yard cushion.
15.
It's a 15-yard penalty.
That's a 15-yard assessment.
Let's go to Brian Reagan quickly.
Ball on the 20.
With their quarterback, Rick McCabe, has been shaken up a little bit all game. He's taken a bunch of hits. This is more than he's passed all year long. Right now, they need him fully healthy, and they need to get it to the wideouts. Mike Brady has been beating his man on the corner consistently. Look for the Vikings to try to go to that. On the defensive end, they're doing a better job hitting the corners, and Coach Stone appears to be happy with at least that. Back up to you guys in the booth.
McCabe coming out throwing, good field position for the Vikings. Mike Brady is surrounded by Calvin Hagwood on that play, incomplete.
Calvin Hagwood with good coverage on that play. It almost looked like there was pass interference, but there was no flag down.
That'll make it 2nd down and 10 from the Vikings. The Colonial 27-yard line. Vikings on the move. They are trailing at 35-7.
Again, the Vikings are in excellent field position at this time, so they hope to get a score out of this drive.
Viking cheerleaders trying to cheer Upper Merion to a 2nd touchdown today. Trying to keep the defense honest by running the ball up the middle. Dean Wright gets maybe a yard.
Stop by Rick
Vikings ground attack hasn't worked real well today. Of course, they've been throwing the ball a lot. Their offensive linemen have been more used to pass blocking than run blocking today.
Well, they haven't done much of anything on the ground. Dean Wright stopped for no gain again.
No gain on the last play, 3rd down and 10. McCabe for Brady, it's caught inside the 10. He's upended at the 8-yard line by Sean Smith. 1st and goal for the Vikings, his 3rd reception on the day.
Mike Brady.
And Upper Merion is threatening to score a 2nd touchdown today. And there's a Colonial player down on the field.
That's Hagwood, who was covering on the last play.
10. 1st and goal.
Got involved with a hit on Brady, and he's still down.
Brady has 6 catches today already.
Oh, 6. When was the last time an Upper Merion pass receiver had 6 catches in one game? It's had to have been quite a while.
Only has 8 for the year, and now he adds 6 more to that.
At least this bodes well for next year because it shows that Upper Merion can throw the ball a little bit, and it'd be nice to be able to mix up their offense a little more next year and not just rely on the running game. Hagwood is still down, and Coach Shine will also go out there and take a look. may have just had the wind knocked out of him. He's walking off mostly under his own power. It'll be first down and goal for the Vikings at the 9-yard line. After that Brady reception, they're on the move, but they trail at 35-7. Plymouth Whitemarsh scored 3 touchdowns in the first quarter to make it 21-0. The Vikings cut it to 21-7, but the Colonials have dented the end zone the last 2 times.
The Plymouth Whitemarsh defense has to hold them on this play.
McCabe into the end zone for Thornton, but it's batted away. Well covered by big Rick Boyer. 6'2", 217.
The pass was intended to Ken Thornton.
Rick Boyer, an excellent all-around player. He's an excellent tight end. And he can also play the linebacker position exceptionally well.
See if Upper Merion goes to one of the corners on a pass this time. Up the middle didn't work. They try the right side off the fingertips of Scott Tees. He could have caught that one.
McCabe's pass intended to Anthony
Caroluzzi was over there on the coverage.
Incomplete.
So on this third down play, what can we look for Upper Merion to do?
Well, they almost have to pass again since they're not doing anything rushing. They really have to get into the end zone here.
Claude Phipps comes in favor of Hilliard on this play. Pobanda, Scott Tees, and Phipps are all lined up to the right. Brady is split wide to the left. That's a direction McCabe goes in. Caught! Touchdown! Upper Merion! Mike Brady with a reception. His second touchdown catch of the game.
It's good to number 82, Mike Brady.
So they overloaded the one side with the receivers and went the opposite way.
And just a note of interest, the last time a team has scored 2 touchdowns against the Plymouth Whitemarsh Colonials was when they played Saturday, and the Colonials escaped 21-14. Of course, Saturday in second place in the Liberty Division, right behind Plymouth Whitemarsh.
Cregan with the extra point. It's true, and it's 35-14 now in favor of PW. There is a flag on the play. Roughing the kicker against Plymouth Whitemarsh. That'll probably be assessed on the kickoff. So Upper Merion gets the touchdown back that they gave up to start this third quarter of play, but they still trail at 35-14. We've seen some encouraging things from the Vikings offense as far as the passing game, Chris.
Well, Rick McCabe's throwing very well. He had only thrown 68 passes, and he's thrown 26 in this game alone. He's completed 13 of them, so he's having a very good day through the air.
That, of course, was necessitated by the fact that the Vikings got behind so quickly. Trying to make up 3 touchdowns with a ground attack doesn't usually work against a fine defense like Plymouth Whitemarsh, and then they started finding success with that passing game. They got into the end zone once in the second quarter, and then after that they figured, well, that's the only way they're going to be able to keep in the game, and they've done it fairly successfully, as we've mentioned. Now, after this penalty, PW will have to, or rather Upper Merion will have to kick off now from the 45-yard line of the Colonial, so this is a perfect position to try an onside kick from. I'm sure Coach Iacovitti will have some of his good hands people up on the line.
Upper Merion's now only trailing by 3 touchdowns.
So we'll see whether they try to kick it onside. No, they kick it deep instead. Stovall a foot into the end zone, and they'll call a touchback. Stovall, I think, wanted to run that one out, too. Maybe better for Upper Merion that he didn't, though. It'll be 1st and 10 for the Colonials at the 20-yard line. 2:51 remains in the third period. You're watching this contest on the Viking channel. The first Thanksgiving contest between the Upper Merion Vikings and the Plymouth Whitemarsh Colonials. It's 35-14. PW getting the better of it so far. Big John Rubin trying to break into the clear, does get the first down. He advances across the 32, the 34-yard line. Dave DeFeo makes the stop.
43.
Haley breaks into the secondary, going to go down the right side. Smith is giving chase. He will not catch him. This will be a touchdown if there are no flags.
Carl Haley with an outstanding run on that play.
That was a 67-yard run by Haley. That is his second touchdown of the game, and now it's a 41-14 game. So just like that, Upper Merion gets a touchdown, but PW has the answer.
Well, I was going to say before the kickoff that Upper Merion obviously needs to stop Plymouth Whitemarsh, and they're not doing it. And it looks like they can score on Plymouth Whitemarsh, it's just they're having the trouble stopping their offense.
So just 42 seconds after Upper Merion scored, Plymouth Whitemarsh replies. The extra point is up and good again. That is the 6th PAT of the afternoon for Kriebel, and it's 42-14 in favor of Plymouth Whitemarsh. This is now the second highest point total Upper Merion has allowed this year. As you remember, Souderton scored 48 4 weeks ago.
In addition, Carl Haley has 2 touchdowns today, and he has now 6 for the season. He's only averaging 4.8 yards a carry, but with that big 67-yard run, that's going to help his average.
The crowd has been quieted considerably after that long touchdown run. Still a good crowd on hand for this game. We weren't sure how many people would turn out since it wasn't any longer Upper Merion and Norristown, but a very good representation today. Of course, it's been a very nice day. The last couple of Thanksgiving games have been cold, but it seems like when they play here at Viking Field, it's usually fairly pleasant.
And that touchdown right there by Carl Haley may have put the game out of reach. And because of that, we could see some junior varsity players in for the Colonials.
Smith takes on his own 30. Good return by Smith. Out to about the 40-yard line, so Upper Merion will have it from there. First down and 10. 2:04 remains in the third quarter. 42-14 in favor of Plymouth Whitemarsh.
Last year we played the Thanksgiving game on Friday because it snowed. They delayed the game one day.
And really, that's been the only unpleasant year at Viking Field in several years. Usually they have the mild weather when they play here, and then it's always cold when we went to Norristown. Be interesting to see what happens in this Upper Merion PW series. Dean Wright takes the handoff and spins up for probably the Vikings' longest run of the afternoon.
I think they might have just tripled their rushing yards for this.
Howard Lasky makes the tackle and a first down for the Vikings.
First down for Upper Merion on the Upper Merion 49.
Incidentally, the series between Upper Merion and PW was tied at 16-16-1 overall in the years they've played it. But last year PW won it 28-0. They're on their way to their third consecutive victory against Upper Merion. McCabe is hit as he throws it. That threw the pass off. It's intended for Thornton, number 80.
That's intended to
Jim Hilliard, Dean Wright, and Rick McCabe had combined for 2 yards rushing prior to Dean Wright's 10-yard run.
Look at Coach Shine, who can't be too happy about the developments today, except for the fact that the passing game has worked fairly well. Second down and 10. McCabe over the middle, off the pads of Hilliard. Hilliard couldn't quite reel that one in, and then it was almost intercepted.
Complete pass to number 34, Jim Hilliard.
That will make it 3rd down and 10 with 1:02 left in the 3rd period. We'll see what Upper Merion does on this 3rd down and 10 play. They've been throwing the ball quite a bit this afternoon. If they want to keep the drive alive, that's probably what they'll have to do. McCabe over the middle, too strong. That was intended for Mike Brady, but he was double covered.
Mike Brady goes incomplete.
So Upper Merion once again is going to be forced to kick it away on 4th down. And the Colonials, with just under a minute to play in the 3rd quarter, will get the ball back again with another opportunity to put some points on the board.
Stovall is back at his own 13. High snap, and Brady barely gets it off, but does so nicely. Takes an Upper Merion bounce, but it will roll into the end zone. Vikings couldn't get downfield fast enough to bat it back into play, so PW will take over at their own 20 with 49 seconds left in the 3rd period. And Upper Merion has been outscored 14-7 in this 3rd period. Haley has sandwiched 2 touchdown runs around a Mike Brady pass reception, 9 yards for a touchdown. That last run by Haley, electrifying 67-yard run. So really, the 2 big play guys for PW in this game haven't been the ones that have made the big plays so far.
And there's a look at number 16, J.J. Clark.
I was referring to Rick Boyer, number 85. He has not caught a touchdown pass today, although he has had a couple of receptions. And also, we haven't heard much from Sean Mitchell.
For PW, Todd Hunsinger.
Todd Hunsinger is the new quarterback for Plymouth Whitemarsh. His brother played the quarterback position there, I believe, in 1987. Scott.
17. Number 36.
That's Josh Heiser on the carry.
Heiser.
It's another promising young 10th grader for PW. He's seen some action this year. That's going to do it for the 3rd quarter play. As time will tick down, PW will not run off another play. So they will switch ends of the field. And it will be 42-14. So let's go down to the sidelines for an interview.
Favor of
Hi, I'm here with, Lee Rubin, and this is Mr. Rubin, John Rubin's father, and I was just here to ask him a couple questions about his son. Mr. Rubin, how do you feel about your son playing his last game of his senior year?
Sad.
Why?
Because it's been fun watching him play for a lot of years, and he's got a lot of friends that he's still with today, and it's a new era. Everybody's going to change locations next year.
Is your son planning to go to a large college or a small college?
He really hasn't decided yet.
Decided. Is he going to play football in college?
He'd love to.
He'd love to. Okay, how do you think this season for the PW football team went overall?
Well, they're the Suburban American champs. They've only lost 3. The seniors have only lost 3 games in their entire career. It's been a lot of fun watching them, and I'm very proud of them, and the coaching staff, and the parents club, and everybody else. It's been a good experience.
How do you feel about him having 1,000 yards?
Very proud of him.
Okay, back to you, Art.
While you were away, it was a run from Calvin Hagwood for a 1st down, so PW keeps things going. They have the ball at the 47-yard line. And that was number 50, Mike Bonds. That must have been a guard or tackle eligible play. I can't figure out.
That's a very interesting play by Coach Giacovetti there.
Chris Sabo made the stop
As a lot of the junior varsity players are in, the JV team of Plymouth Whitemarsh was undefeated this year with a record of 5-0, led by number 15 quarterback Todd Hunsiger.
Now maybe there's some double numbers for PW. I'm not sure. Well, there's a fumble on that play. And maybe Upper Merion has recovered it. Looked like George Zapian is the man that fell on that one for the Vikings, so they will take over.
Number 50, Mike Bonds, just did not have possession of the ball on that handoff from Hunsiger.
So Upper Merion will take over. They still have their first string offense in the game.
And I believe that's the first turnover of the day for the Colonials.
Upper Merion finally got the turnover, but I think it's a little late now.
Here comes Hilliard trying to decide which way to go, and then is caught in the backfield.
Hilliard taken down by number 41.
Howard Lasky, number 41, lowered the boom on him, along with Sean P. Smith, number 67. So we have a Sean C. Smith, number 32, and a Sean P. Smith, number 67.
Injured on the play.
And Mark Sandworth, number 75, may have injured an ankle in the last play. He's another promising young offensive lineman for the Upper Merion Vikings. He's playing the right side of the line today. 6'4", 245 pounds. He's only a sophomore.
Though the defense of the Vikings has allowed 42 points today, there's one game that stands out in my mind where the defense of Upper Merion has played just superbly, and that's their 30-0 victory over Cheltenham.
That and also the victory over Upper Moreland. The Bears only had 119 yards total in that game, and 60 of those were on one touchdown run that they had. And there's a...
Cheltenham game, Upper Merion got quite a number of turnovers in this game. A couple interceptions and 3 or 4 fumble recoveries. Cheltenham didn't play well at all. They didn't handle the ball well. They didn't throw well either.
They're bringing Samworth off the field. And they'll take a look at that ankle to see exactly what the problem is. It's been quite a contrast, though. The successes that Upper Merion has had, they've averaged 25 a game in the games that they've won this year. And they've only averaged 4 per game, and they're 5 losses and a tie. And meanwhile, on the defensive side of the ball, they have averaged only allowing 5.3 points a game when they've won, and then when they've lost, it's been 25 a game. So you can see that the offense goes well, the defense goes well when they win, and neither does well when they lose, it seems like. And that's kind of been the case today, although the team has at least been able to throw the ball and gotten in the end zone a couple times. Another injured Colonial. I guess we'll see a lot of this now with new players coming into the game.
And as Chris mentioned, it's a shame that Upper Merion got their turnover of the their first turnover of the game a little late.
Rick McCabe now for his last 5 in the air.
We're unable to see the injured Colonial. We have 9:47 remaining in the ball game, 42-14 in favor of Plymouth Whitemarsh. They went up 21-0 in the first quarter. Upper Merion cut it to 21-7. The Colonials replied before halftime to make it 28-7. They then scored another touchdown to go up by 4 touchdowns. Mike Brady caught a nice pass from McCabe to cut it to 35-14. And then Haley scored on a 67-yard run to make it 42-14. That's where we stand.
Wish you well in your careers.
That was just sensational to watch Carl Haley on that big 67-yard touchdown run. He found the hole and just went all the way downfield for the score. And getting to his feet now is number 63, Joe Dugan, a senior who has had an outstanding year as linebacker.
Another standout for the Colonials, 6 foot, 210 pounds.
63, Joe Dugan, the captain of the defensive unit. injured on that series.
It'll be 3rd down and 15 when we resume play. The ball at the Viking 33-yard line. Vikings have 3 receivers set to the left side. McCabe lofts one up. It's incomplete. Intended for Hilliard. Caroluzzi in on the coverage.
Jim Hilliard,
Along with number 50, Mike Buns.
the intended receiver, incomplete.
Vikings will be forced into a punting posture once again with 9:43 remaining in the game.
So now Rick McCabe in a bit of a slump, 0 for his last 6. Upper Marion is forced to kick it off.
Brady gets off a line drive kick this time. Recepted by Stovall at the 35. He's across the 40. Smith tries to drag him down. The ball comes loose.
And Upper Marion
Viking
has
football.
recovered.
Viking football. They get the turnover. So the offense will come out onto the field
Smith
again.
recovers the fumble for Upper Marion. Ball
Things
resting
might be
down
getting a
on
little
the
bit ragged now for Plymouth White Marsh because they are using some of their substitute players. It's also hard to keep the intensity up when you're already leading by a score of 42-14. But Upper Marion will try to tack on some points here. Get some momentum going into next season. The seniors also want to go off with a little bit of a positive taste in their mouth here in the last few minutes of the ball game. Dean Wright struggles forward for 5 yards. Number 19, Wayne Masters makes the stop for the Plymouth White Marsh Colonials.
Makes the stop for PW. 2nd down.
I know it's hard for a lot of the Plymouth White Marsh players who are seniors this year to come to the reality that they're playing in their last game. John Pergine's a senior, so is John Rubin, along with Rick Boyer, Sam Caroluzzi, Calvin Hagwood, Nate Stovall. All have had great years for the Colonials.
Sean Barbagallo and Jim Ross are into the game now. There goes Ross with a pickup of about 5. This will be the last game for defensive coach John Stone. He'll be taking over as activities director at Upper Marion once this football season is complete.
3-yard line.
Pick up some other men in there. Number 45,
Down.
Heriberto Polanco is also into the game for the Vikings. Upper Marion, though, keeping their starting offensive line in there for the most part. Barbagallo in motion to the far side. Handoff is to Jason Wasburton, number 9, who also checked into the game.
Jason or Jay Washburton.
That'll be a 1st down for the Vikings. We are inside 7.5 minutes
Number
remaining.
5 is a new quarterback for Upper Marion.
Well, Coach Shine switching quarterbacks, too, after that 1st down. Number 5 into the game. There's Jim Ross. Taking it, he loses the football. We'll see if he fell on it.
Jim Ross.
Apparently he did.
Covers his own fumble.
Rick Ziba is the man we have listed as number 5 as the quarterback. So this is his first action of this 1990 season.
We haven't seen Sean Richardson either. He's a sophomore quarterback who's out with a wrist injury. And he is suited up, and I guess he can play. He's not in the game.
Wasburton doesn't take the football with him. He fumbles at PW, Upper Marion loses at PW, takes over now. 6.5 minutes remaining in the game. The Colonials taking over on about the 30-yard line.
Senior members of the fine Viking crew of TV who will be doing the game on our local cable network will announce the seniors in just a few minutes.
Hunsinger again, the quarterback, number 15 for PW. Handoff goes up the middle. Chris March
March
picks
the
up
ball carrier.
almost enough yardage for the first down.
Taken down
It'll be
by
about a
number
yard short,
54.
bringing up a 2nd and 1.
I believe Coach Iacovetti's doing a little bit of experimenting late in the game. Not only is he putting his junior varsity players in, but he's having them hand off to such people as Mike Bonds and Chris March, both linebackers.
Howard Lasky has this one. Penetrates Viking territory down to the 49-yard line. Another first down for the Colonials.
That's another example of the experimenting that Coach Iacovetti's doing.
Vikings also have some new defensive backs in there. Chris Sabo, number 10, is in there, along with number 40, Mike Batdorf,
50
and some other defensive players also in there. They're seeing their first action of the year.
46.
Calvin Hagwood is cut down behind the line of scrimmage.
Jim Morrow.
Jim Morrow, number 46, also in there. Number 77, Miguel Sanchez, just checked out of the ball game, along with Tim Bowe, number 91. Try to pick up the rest of the defensive players in a second.
So Plymouth White Marsh is driving.
2nd down and 12. This is March, and he is wrapped up by number 60,
Chris
Joe
March taken down by
Fazio.
a host of Upper Merion players, led by number 73,
Kevin Kolkoka,
Kolkoka.
number 73 in there. Number 54, A.J. Reddy. Number 14, who I do not have on my roster. So we have a mystery man for Upper Merion. Let's see. We don't know who number 14 is. Our apologies to him.
Hand off to J.J. Clark on the play.
Yeah, and Clark picks up about 6 yards.
J.J. Clark of a PW.
Always tough to do these games at the end when you have some players that you don't have on your roster, but we'll do the best we can. Let's see, number 38, Jason Zagroda is also in there. Number 69, Brian Gibbs.
Frank Gallagher and Matsi Gazlatwala.
And Coach Shine is running these people in and out so fast, can't even keep track of them. So I think everybody's going to get into the game. Coach Shine is just putting them in every play to make sure they at least get out on the field. Number 71, Frank Adale was into the game. Number 69, Brian Gibbs also. PW had gone for it on 4th down, and they were stopped, so Upper Merion takes over the football.
Best of luck as they now wrap up their senior.
Ball is at the 37-yard line. 1st down and 10 for the Vikings.
Number 29, Sean
There's Sean Barbagallo.
Gallo, the ball carrier. Stopped by number 81 of Plymouth White Marsh, Joe Rose.
Ball is at the 45-yard line now of Upper Merion. 2nd down and about 4. We are inside 3 minutes to go. 42-14 in favor of Plymouth White Marsh. There's Wiseburton, gets the 1st down.
Jay Warbutton. Number 9, the ball carrier. Ball on the Plymouth side
Polanco brings
of
the
the field.
play into Zeba, and Claude Phipps goes out now.
48-yard line.
Jim Ross caught behind the line of scrimmage. Number 16, J.J. Clark upends him.
J.J. Clark.
What we're seeing right now is, as I mentioned before, the JV defense, which has played exceptionally well, shut out several teams this year in play. And a lot of these players we will be seeing next year in the 1991 season for the Colonials.
And it was nice that Coach Shine was able to get everybody into the game, even if it was only for a play or two. And he has some people to build on for next year because he has been playing these people, especially the last few weeks. They've been getting some much-needed experience. Barbagallo hurdles over a couple of Colonials and picks up 2 yards. Vikings will be facing a 3rd down and about 10 with 1:16 to go. The Plymouth Whitemarsh will win this one and cap their season at 8-2, a perfect 8-0 in the league. So they will win the title. Salerton will finish 2nd with a 7-1 mark.
And for the 2nd year in a row, they are the Liberty Division champions.
Zeba finally attempted a pass, but he was sacked.
Chris Zeba.
Number 77, Greg Durago, made the tackle for the Plymouth Whitemarsh Colonials. We are now inside 45 seconds to go. So the Vikings, in all likelihood, will just run one more play, and the 1990 season will be over. And Upper Merion will fall to 4-6-1, and this will be the 3rd consecutive year that they have finished at that record.
Big play. Congratulations to them.
And speaking of 41, number 41, Jim Ross, will appropriately enough carry the ball for the last carry of the season. Now, the possession changes here, so the clock will stop temporarily. PW will take over. And now the clock will run. They won't even have a chance to snap the ball again. So that is going to finish it for the 1990 season, this first Thanksgiving game between the Upper Merion Vikings and the Plymouth Whitemarsh Colonials. The final score as the game is over is 42 for PW, 14 for Upper Merion. Let's recap the scoring as the players will congratulate each other for a hard-fought game. John Rubin scored with 8:45 left to go in the first quarter on a 9-yard run. The extra point by Greg Kriebel, good to make it 7-0. Then 5:27 remaining in the first quarter. Rubin scored on a 15-yard run. Extra point good to make it 14-0. And then with 1:39 left in the quarter, Rubin scored again to make it 21-0. Vikings then cut it to 21-7 on a 13-yard pass from Rick McCabe to Mike Brady. The extra point good by Cregan. That was with 8:21 remaining in the second quarter. It was 21-7 at that point. But then Upper Merion, after stopping PW, roughed the kicker, giving the Colonials the ball back. And ultimately, Nate Stovall scored on a 30-yard run, 3:19 remaining in the second quarter. The extra point was good to make it 28-7. That was the halftime score. And then in the third quarter, Haley scored on an 8-yard run to make it 35-7. Mike Brady caught a pass from McCabe to cut it to 35-14. And Haley scored with 2:10 remaining in the third period on a 67-yard run to end the scoring at 42-14. And Steve, how would you evaluate this game from PW's standpoint?
Well, definitely, without a doubt, PW played one of their best games of the year, putting 42 points on the board. All of the touchdowns were rushing touchdowns, and Greg Kriebel was simply perfect for the point after try, 6 for 6, I believe. And PW, unfortunately, has to say goodbye to many of their fine seniors, but they definitely are headed toward another successful season next year.
And Chris, Upper Merion lost fairly big, but at least they did get a couple of touchdowns on the ground.
Whitemarsh fullback John Rubin, Upper Merion's quarterback Rick McCabe.
They're now having a ceremony on the field for the most valuable players.
John Rubin of PW and Rick McCabe of...
Rick McCabe named the most valuable player for the Upper Merion Vikings, and John Rubin for the Plymouth Whitemarsh Colonials. The trophy that marks this first year of the rivalry being handed to Plymouth Whitemarsh, so they will keep it for 1 year, and then next year the victor will retain the trophy. And Upper Merion hopes that they will win the trophy back and keep it at Upper Merion High School after the game next year, but we'll see what happens about that. So again, Chris, Upper Merion has to at least feel that they got something positive out of this contest. The passing game started to work a little.
for next season to know that he can throw the ball effectively, and he did that fairly well today. And hopefully he'll improve next season, and Upper Merion can put together a better record.
Well, 4-6-1 for the third consecutive year. They will lose their starting backfield, but at least they do have Rick McCabe back. They have a couple receivers, and Coach Shine did have the opportunity to play a lot of sophomores this year, and many of them will be starting next year, both on the offense and defense. So at least he can kind of evaluate where he is as far as his experienced players are concerned, rather than going into next season with people that have seen no varsity action at all and have more uncertainties. So at least that's one good thing that can be seen from at least the second half of this 1990 season. Upper Merion did have a 4-1 start at one point, but then they ran into some of the tougher competition and ended up the season with 5 losses and a tie in their last 6 games. But we'll see what happens next year. Well, that's it from Viking Field for this Thanksgiving game 1990. Once again, the final score was EW 42, Upper Merion 14. For Steve Prinzavali and Chris Manzer, this is Art Saxon saying so long from Viking Field. Once again, 42-14, the final score. EW wins it. So long, everybody, till 1991.